What's going on, people? I go by the name of Papo Jr. This is the Ring Out Podcast. Yo, I want to know more about Sid Vicious. I seen him wrestle before, videos from back then and shit. Growing up, I didn't watch him, do his thing, feel me? But Sid Vicious hated working with these wrestlers. This video is by Stunned by Wrestling, of course, putting out great content. Go subscribe to that channel, man. Go subscribe to them. Subscribe to my channel, bro. But we're going to check this one out. Sid Vicious. A lot of people talk greatly about Sid Vicious, man. Psycho Sid. And I'm here for it, bro. Work. He hated fucked up my foot. My bad, y'all. Anyways, Sid Vicious hated working with these wrestlers, man. Let's get it.
Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid,
I had a brain
or
fart
Sid
just now.
Justice.
Like, what
Whatever
the fuck?
you knew him as, he was a huge guy with a big ego. He didn't just see himself as a top star, he saw plenty of his co-workers as being beneath him. If Sid didn't like someone, he wasn't scared to talk about it. And some of them he absolutely hated.
Wasn't he the one that had a fight with Arn Anderson? Had that scissor fight in that hotel hallway? Was it him? And they were just stabbing each other? I think it was him. I heard that story plenty of times, but I believe it was him and Arn Anderson. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Maybe he'll mention it here.
Working with. In 1991, WCW's locker room was split between the big men who dominated the main event scene and the smaller wrestlers trying to make a name for themselves. Brian Pillman was one of those smaller guys, and he was desperate to get to the top of the business despite being under 6 foot tall. Pillman was known for running his mouth backstage, and he enjoyed getting in the faces of the bigger guys in the locker room to prove that he wasn't scared of them. Sid, on the other hand, had the old school mentality.
Look at Steve Austin, man. Stunning Steve, man. The Hollywood Blondes.
He didn't think that Pillman had any business being a major player in WCW, and he definitely didn't take him seriously.
So Sid Vicious was his WCW name. Psycho Sid, his WWF. Gotcha.
As a tough guy, there was tension between the men backstage, and that boiled over during the War Games match in 1991. So we were in Phoenix at the War Games. Pillman was running his mouth backstage. So I drove him as hard as I could through the cage and as hard as I could through the mat and sent him to the hospital. If Brian Pillman really wanted to be a tough guy, when I beat him up that time in War Games legitimately and then sent him through that cage, he had all the reason to fight me right there and right then, but he didn't want to fight. Pillman's head and neck weren't protected during this powerbomb, and instead of landing flat on his back, he was nearly spiked on the top of his head. The impact left him with a separated shoulder and a severe concussion. Medical staff had to attend to him immediately.
Yeah, bro. I believe wrestlers nowadays will not survive back then, man. That was a different time back then. Either you with the boys or you're not. But at the same time, with Sid Vicious mentality, the big boys, we run this shit. Y'all little guys, y'all can't fuck with us, man. You run your mouth, we're gonna really beat the shit out of you in the ring. Want to fight a bite, let's go outside in the parking lot. Woo!
He was taken to the hospital for further evaluation.
Damn.
Sid thought that he'd taught Pillman a lesson and shut him up for good, but he was wrong. Fast forward to October 1991, and Sid had jumped to the WWF. By coincidence, both WCW and the WWF had events in Atlanta on back-to-back nights, leaving wrestlers from both companies staying at the same hotel. Pillman and Sid came face to face once again in the hotel bar, and tensions escalated quickly. Before things could turn physical, Sid left the bar, and for a moment it seemed like that was going to be the end of it. But a few moments later, Sid came back, holding a squeegee, of all things. Instead of squaring up to fight with his fists, Sid brandished the squeegee as a weapon, trying to intimidate Pillman. The sight of a near 7-foot monster holding a squeegee didn't exactly have the intended effect. Mike Graham quickly stepped in and grabbed the window cleaning tool and diffused the situation, but the incident became legendary in the wrestling business.
Hold on. Why would you grab a weapon though? So when you had I don't like that. Because you're in the ring. You're having a War Games match. You're going to get this dude. You're going to really hurt this guy in the ring without his knowledge. And then when it comes and then when Pillman wants to confront you, tensions is high. Tensions? Did I just say that? I'm bilingual. Bear with me. Fucking, now he's like face to face with you. You're going to fucking grab a weapon, bro? You're a big motherfucker. You can't use your fucking hands. Now that Pillman's like, like you won't catch him off guard this time. And y'all in a bar surrounded by alcohol, bro. Pillman got the right to defend himself. You're gonna go grab a fucking weapon? I don't like that shit. You a big dude, man.
In a locker room full of tough guys, Sid was now the guy who brought a mop to a fight. But the next confrontation that Sid got himself into featured a far more dangerous weapon. By 1993, he'd returned to WCW and he wanted to be the top guy in the company. But there was just one problem. Ric Flair was in the way. It was during a tour of the UK in October 1993, and Sid once again found himself in a hotel bar with a bunch of the other wrestlers. He was loudly complaining to anyone that would listen about Ric Flair's influence, how much he was being paid, and how the company still revolved around the Nature Boy. Arn Anderson was there too, and he took offence to what Sid was saying about his best friend. Beer was thrown and insults were exchanged, but the other guys broke it up before it could turn physical, and Sid stormed off to his room. But the fight wasn't over. Sid grabbed a broken chair leg and pounded on Arn's hotel room door, taunting him to come out and settle things face to face. When
what I said earlier, he's gonna mention it.
Arn answered the door, he wasn't empty-handed either. He was holding a pair of scissors. The two men lunged at each other and things quickly turned bloody. Arn got the first few jabs in, stabbing Sid multiple times with the scissors. But Sid wrestled the weapon away from Arn and stabbed him repeatedly in return. By the time the other wrestlers came and broke it up, Arn had been stabbed over 20 times and the hallway was covered in blood. Vader was the one who finally pulled Sid off of Arn.
You imagine because I used to work in hotels. I used to be a houseman, man. You imagine you doing your overnight shift and you hear, I used to work overnight. So dealing with drunks, yeah, I've been there, but not to that fucking level, bro. You doing your shit, you making your rounds, checking every room, checking every floor, and you see blood all over, looking like a fucking horror fucking movie. With two big guys stabbing each other with scissors, bro. Holy shit, bro.
And kept them separated while the emergency services were called. In the years after, Sid was always deeply regretful that things managed to get so violent between them. A lot of people didn't realise about this whole thing with Arn, and I've said it before, Arn was one of the people who really helped me out in my career. He's the one that first helped me out with my interviews, which is a big part of my persona, my character. It was just an unfortunate chain of events that led into that horrible night. Of course, Arn has gone on the record and has always had great things to say about me. I've always had great things to say about him. I've said it 1,000 times. I just wish it never happened. And if it had to happen, I wish it hadn't been with him. It was just a horrible accident. No, not an accident. It was just a horrible, horrible deal. It seemed that Sid never had much belief in Bret Hart as the WWF's top guy. While the Federation had spent years building Bret up as the company's top star, Sid just didn't buy into it. In Sid's mind, guys like Brett and Diesel were the reason that the WWF struggled so badly
The new
financially
generation.
in the mid-90s. These guys were positioned as the faces of the company, and yet business had never been worse. He's arrogant, but this is the thing. When Brett was on top, they couldn't sell out a high school, and people didn't get paid in there sometimes for months at a time, and that's when he was on top and Diesel was on top. The business could have never been that bad, and probably never was that bad before. And on a personal level, Sid found working with the Hitman to be frustrating too. Brett was meticulous about laying his matches out beforehand, while Sid preferred to keep things simple. As a matter of fact, Vince did an interview recently about Bret Hart, and he called him a pain in the ass. I do remember when we were trying to get things lined up for a match or something like that, it would always be at the last minute when Bret would come in, and it was just like every little thing that he had to tinker with, and sometimes just, breathe.
What I like about Brett, great wrestler. Bret Hart, great wrestler. But when it comes to the promo on the mic, exactly. But at the same time, he's not afraid to tell you how he feels about shit. That's another thing I like about Brett. He's real as fuck. Great wrestler, real guy. Like on some motherfucker, I got nothing to hide. I'm gonna fucking tell you how I fucking feel, bro. But when it comes to the promo work on the mic, try to talk to the fans and all that, type shit.
Throughout the 90s, Sid was a true journeyman in wrestling, and not only did he dominate in WCW and the WWF, but he also showed up in ECW.
Dude was flopping back and forth between two companies, and now I see him in ECW. I never knew he was in ECW.
While Sid didn't have an issue with most of the locker room, there was one person that he didn't care for,
Shit.
and that was Bubba Ray Dudley. There was
Shit.
Bubba Dudley, and there was Devon. Devon was a really super nice guy. Bubba, a little bit of a prima donna. I hate saying that, but I don't know if it was, maybe he was jealous of me coming in. I don't know. Maybe that's just his personality. But while Sid only had to work with Bubba for a few months, the tension between him and Ric Flair went on for years.
Yeah,
When Sid
Devon
joined the
selling.
Four Horsemen in 1990, he never felt like he truly fit in. He was a completely different type of wrestler from the other Horsemen, and Flair didn't agree with him being added to the team. According to Sid, Flair and Barry Windham would come up with spots for all the other guys during their tag team matches, but they'd leave him out deliberately. Many years later, WWE released a DVD documentary about the Four Horsemen, and in an interview, Flair said that Sid's inclusion in the team was an embarrassment. But the real frustration came at Halloween Havoc in 1990, where Sid was told for months before that he was going to beat Sting and become WCW champion. According to Sid, that all changed at the last minute, and Sting ended up retaining the title. Sid believed that it was Flair who was responsible for convincing management that he wasn't ready for the title. At that time in
With a fucking roll
WCW,
up.
Flair had the influence to decide who was ready for the main event.
He was supposed to win the championship. Last minute change. So he's like, fuck it, roll me up because you're not going to fucking embarrass me. You know? Fucking A. Last minute changes, roll up.
And if he didn't like someone, then they weren't going to win that world title. But when Sid jumped to the WWF, he walked into a company where things were set up very differently. The original plan for WrestleMania 8 was Flair versus Hogan for the WWF Championship. It was a dream match that some fans had been waiting years to see, but before long, Vince McMahon had changed his mind, scrapping Flair versus Hogan and putting Sid in the main event instead. While the official reason for
Sid Justice? Damn, how many name changes? Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, Psycho Sid. What else he had?
The
Damn.
change was that Hogan versus Flair didn't perform well at house shows. It also positioned Sid as a much bigger deal than Flair at the time. To Sid, Flair had spent years blocking his success on his home turf in WCW, but in Vince McMahon's eyes, he was the bigger deal. Okay, let's just say this. Who really is the bigger embarrassment in this business? And that's all I'll say. Is it someone who, like me, who's only had really only one thing over my head that was really not my fault? Or him who's had a cast of stupid things he's done in his whole life? In this business, since I've been in, I've outdone Ric Flair 100 to 1 in drawing money, and that's what the name of the game is. I was main event 90% of my career, maybe more than that. So it sounds to me like someone's feelings were hurt. Another person that Sid never respected was Vince Russo.
Come on, bro.
He didn't just think that Russo was bad at his job, he thought that he was the worst booker in wrestling history. As far as Sid could see, Russo had no idea what made wrestling work, no grasp on how to book a top star, and no clue how to run a wrestling company. By the time Sid returned to WCW in 1999, the company was already in decline, and as far as he was concerned, Vince Russo was the final nail in the coffin. While Russo did make Sid the world champion at the start of 2000, the title was already meaningless thanks to his terrible booking. I just
hold on. My bad, yo. I had to see something real quick.
And as far as
first of all, look at Rick Steiner.
He was concerned, Vince Russo was the final nail.
I hate that. You see when they're filming somebody, whatever, a wrestler and shit like that, they're recording them walking like they're towards the arena. They just got to the arena and shit like that. They wait for their cue. And we see that. They just stand in there and then they just start walking. Why don't you just start walking and then show us on TV? Like, those little things bothered me, man. Seriously, because y'all look stupid. Because y'all just stand in there, okay, go. And then y'all start walking. I'm like, what the fuck? Just start walking.
In the coffin. While Russo did make Sid the world champion at the start of 2000, the title was already meaningless thanks to his terrible booking. I just thought Vince Russo wasn't the genius everybody put him out to be, and he did such a poor job, or a different type of job, that I thought, we all thought, it was sabotage. No one could be this bad consistently. If you were there, you would have had to swear to yourself. I swore to myself that this was sabotage, that nobody could have been that stupid, that dumb. I mean, I still believe it was sabotage. So he didn't just think that Russo was incompetent, he believed that his decisions were so bad that they had to be deliberate. Surely Vince McMahon had sent him to WCW to destroy the business from the inside. Nothing summed it up more than Russo's obsession with pushing Jeff Jarrett. I don't really know the real reason for it, other than we know that Jeff Jarrett was Russo's best buddy, or whatever you want to call it. I think that's another indication, another telltale sign about Vince Russo really not being very business oriented, because that was a bad decision. You don't make decisions like that. Sid never saw Jarrett as a real main eventer. In fact, he saw him as a mid-carder at best, a guy with a guitar and a catchphrase, not someone who should be anywhere near the world title. And Sid hated that Double J was just handed those main event spots through backstage politics as he saw it. And during those few months in 2000,
what the hell
Sid
was that?
Constantly.
They were on top of a cage and the fucking title was hanging. What the hell was that?
Was just near the world title. And Sid hated that Double J.
And it looked like there's a mess down there. Tables broken. You got, what's his name? Forgot his name, bro. He won the title too before. Oh, fuck, hey. Fuck, Fuck, man. I forgot his name. And I saw the documentary of him too on one time when I was in the plane. Fucking A.
Was just
I don't want to
handed
say
those
the name. I
main
feel
event
like David
spots
Arquette.
through backstage politics
Is that the
as
name?
he saw it.
Let me know in the
And
comments,
during
bro.
those few months in 2000, Sid was constantly being positioned as Jarrett's rival, but the fans weren't buying it. No matter how many times Russo put the world title on him, he never felt like a top guy. Sid had zero respect for Jarrett. To him, Double J was a politician rather than a real star.
Jeff Jarrett was never a top guy. I don't give a fuck how many times you won a world championship. In most fans' eyes, bro, you were never a top guy. Tony Khan tried it. He tried it with Jeff Jarrett. The fans were like, get this guy off my TV. I wasn't watching, but I was paying attention, and I was like, they really doing this just because John Cena got a farewell tour. They want to go battle that with Jeff Jarrett. A lot of people were pissed off about that shit. Jeff Jarrett going after the world championship. And now all of a sudden, he's nowhere to be found. Like, you gotta listen to the fans, man. Seriously. But damn. City had beef with a lot of people. The Pillman shit, I didn't like that he really hurt him at War Games. But when they were in the bar, he decided to grab a weapon. That's pussy shit to me, bro. That's all I gotta say. You a big dude against a small guy, bro. We know Pillman, he ain't scared of nobody. But I didn't like that shit. Shoot, you fucking shoot your shot at War Games, but in the hotel bar, you wanna grab a mop? Get the fuck out of here, bro. The Arn Anderson was just protecting his boy, standing up for his boy Ric Flair, and looks like this dude's mind just got clouded with anger, you know, because he said he regrets that night that happened, that scissor fight they had in the hotel hallway. Just crazy. Vince Russo, I get it. I totally fucking get it. Dude sucked at booking, bro. Seriously. I wasn't watching at that time, but from everything that I've heard and everything that I've seen, all his booking, the matches that he booked, I'm like, what the fuck is this? What was that lady on the forklift? That shit. That was one of them. And then Jeff Jarrett. You know, politician. Most of us don't like politicians, man. Get that shit out of my fucking face. And look like he politicked his way to being the world champion, man, at the time where WCW was dying. So, it sucks. We got more?
And no amount of booking could ever change that.
So I understand Sid there, you know, with Jeff Jarrett. Nope, that's it. I understand Sid there, you know. But yo, appreciate y'all making it this far in the video. I really do appreciate it. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button if you fucks with me. Comment down below your favorite moments of Sid Vicious. Any story you heard about Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, you know, that he didn't mention on Stunned by Wrestling. Subscribe to his channel, bro. He got good content, man. I'm subscribed to him, bro. Great content. I'm enjoying his videos, bro. I did a Bobby Heenan, this one that you see on screen that I recommended. I did that about like last week. And yeah, man, till next time.
Goodbye and good night, bang.
Peace.